Hi guys,
Hi.
happy Sunday. So I just wanted to first give a shout out to my buddy Bobby Engel. I'm not sure if he's going to come on here, but he gave me an idea or to get this little stand that props up your laptop so you're looking straight on at people. And I love it. Like it's like a little mini desk. It's pretty awesome. So thank you. Hi Debbie. So if everyone's just coming on, hi Gina. Say hi and where you're coming in from. And we're going to talk about something really important tonight. Hi Melissa. And we've talked about it before, but it definitely needs to be talked about again. Capone, what's up, brother? Good to see you on here. Lavelle, good to see you. Doug. So what Nancy and I are very big on is self-care. And this is what we're gonna, and I'm bringing back the sticky notes. What's up, Rasheen? Self-care. I'm not gonna cut your face. Well, cut your face off. Don't cut your face. So we're gonna talk about self-care tonight. And I learned something from Nancy tonight. There's a ton of different forms of self-care. Hi, Steph. Hi, Jody. Clem. Good to see you on here. Clem Pappas. So we want to talk about the different kinds of self-care and how important it is for all of us to really, truly take care of ourselves. What's up, Richard? Good to see you on here. So we're calling this chore versus choice because you can look at self-care as a chore or you can look at it as a choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I'm going to lead us off. So
Sorry, my brain.
it's okay. Number one is physical self-care. Physical self-care. Hi, Kate. So we have some notes written down here. So why don't you start with the physical form of self-care?
We're going to kind of talk about it and, from different standpoints. I don't have children. Scott has a son. But we can talk about, if you're a parent or maybe you're just, a single adult who might work a lot. The importance of self-care is so incredibly important. And we always like to talk about stuff that obviously is impacting our life and everything. And most recently, in the last few weeks, I actually had the flu. And then on top of that, I had like a cold or something on top. So I was almost bedridden for like a week and a half. And, it all came to a climax when I was going, trying to get so much stuff done. And I was burning the candle at both ends. I wasn't taking care of myself. And my body, this has happened to me before as well. I mean, my body, if I don't stop and slow down and actually take care of myself, my body always does this. And I run into the ground, I get sick, and it makes me, go lay down and rest. And, unfortunately, I did come down with the flu and, I was knocked on my butt. But it was also a blessing in disguise because, I spent a week and a half just really reflecting on what was important, on really focusing on my goals, my priorities. I was able to get recalibrated and kind of focused on the right things. Where I felt very, very stressed, I was able to really, really just reevaluate everything. So even though, and I know many of you out there are like, oh, try to find good, even though I got really sick, I still am very grateful that I did, because I was able to, like I said, slow down, recalibrate, and practice a little self-care. So again, like Scott said, we're talking about the physical aspect of things. It could be anything from exercising to eating healthy to going to bed, at a certain time. It's so incredibly important if you physically do not feel well, that you need to figure out what it is. It could be just, you're lethargic, you're low energy. What can you do to make that better? So,
They say all the time. I just want to say hi to Kate, Jerry, Lori, Michael, Tom. Hi, Betsy. And if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. You have nothing. That's a requirement. Hi, Sarah. if you don't have your health, you have nothing. And so I want to talk to all the parents first, whether you have young children or not. One of the most challenging things for any new mom or new dad is getting back to the routine of what you were doing before. And Nancy sees this firsthand, when Taylor's here, because the fact of the matter is this: we are so emotionally tuned to putting everybody else first. And moms, I got to give you all the credit in the world, because emotionally your job is to really take care of the family. But what I can tell you is that you have to take care of you first. Eating healthy, not just for you, but having the family eat healthy. I mean, I made Taylor mac and cheese for dinner tonight, but he had no clue that it was dairy-free and gluten-free. No idea. And he thought it was the most delicious thing in the world. And just those little things, they really make a difference. Being very active, with your kids, practicing healthy habits. Like, he loves going to Whole Foods and looking at all the stuff. And I think just making self-care a family thing. Don't make it just about you. Enjoy healthy habits with your family. Enjoy exercise with your family. And Tony said self-care is so important. It really is. So eat healthy, exercise. They have childcare, and I got to give all those moms so much credit that go to the gym, they bring their kids with them, they put them in daycare. That's why they have that there. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. You need your body feeling and looking at its best for your family, for you, for everyone that's in your life. So really put you first. Take care of you in any way possible. So number one, physical self-care. So number two is something that, these last two, I kind of learned, I'm used to the physical self-care, and I learned these other new self-cares from Nancy, and I inherently was doing some of this stuff, but it's really important for people to understand. Number two is emotional, social, and psychological self-care. And a lot of these people don't focus on. So emotional, social, and psychological self-care is also important. And I just want to say hi to Rachel, Cindy, Brian, and Sharon. Good to see you on here. So let's talk a little bit about emotional, social, psychological.
Yeah, so from all of that, that bundle rolled up into one, another thing that I recently encountered was, I found myself actually hitting a wall. And it was funny, I told Scott, I was like, I feel like it's cyclically, like every 3 months, I feel like things build up and I feel like I need to let some emotions out, And what I mean by that is, I've had to deal with a lot of loss in my life, and, people who obviously meant a lot to me are no longer here anymore. And even though you carry on as if, like you got to carry on, you got to keep going on, sometimes you subliminally, those things will come and cycle back around and you don't even realize it. You could be sad for no reason, and you could be just like, oh, why am I so sad? Or you have that missing, feeling. Every 3 months, I find myself kind of feeling that way. And it's almost like I need to kind of recalibrate, and I need to kind of, digest my feelings a little bit. And so I realized that, and as silly as it sounds, with the emotional, social, and psychological, the notes I wrote down on here is express your emotions and allow yourself to cry, and also find things that make you happy. So let's say you took care of yourself physically, okay? You go to the gym, you're eating healthy, you're feeling good. But where I was finding myself, it was just emotionally something was there that I wasn't addressing. So by making sure to take care of yourself and focus on expressing your emotions, it is so incredibly important. And I think, obviously, again, I don't have kids, but this is something that I want to instill in my kids is it's so important to show your kids how to express their emotions. I listened to, I had a counselor one time who actually told me, he was like, do you know kids learn how to express their emotions from their parents? You know, like if your parents, always made it okay to cry and express your feelings, you are more apt to be able to do that and let your feelings out. If your parents never really cried and always hid it, and you were always a little confused about that, you might find yourself not being able to let things out, and you might bottle things up, and it might come to a point where you kind of let it all out at once, or you don't know why you feel the way that you feel.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's so it's important to talk about this, because whether it's for your kids, your family, everything, taking care of your emotional needs and letting these things out is so incredibly important. Guys, I'm even saying, if you've hit a wall at work, like let's say you work a crazy work week and you hit a day, maybe it's Wednesday or something, and you were just like, I'm so stressed, I'm so exhausted, I need to recalibrate. I'm telling you, sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is to call in, do a sick day or do something, but you need to take that time for yourself, because you are so useless to everything else and everyone else. But you need to have that time for yourself. And back to the whole emotional, social, everything. I'm, as silly as it sounds, I'm planning on every 3 months, I want to reevaluate my feelings. Like I want to think about my feelings and my emotions. And I want to make sure like I'm on track with how I'm processing everything, because I keep hitting this 3-month mark where I'm like, like I'm sad and I'm missing people and I don't exactly know why, or, why this is happening. I need to address it, and I need to, keep that in the forefront.
So two things that I wanted to touch on. There's a bunch of stuff to cover here, but so it was not this weekend, but last weekend we had Taylor, and Taylor gets kind of like, he's a very, very active little boy, and he gets kind of, not aggressive, but he gets very excitable. And in playing around with Nancy, he hit her, like punched her, like not like in the face or anything, but like play punching. And obviously we had an adult conversation with him. There's no yelling and screaming. Like it's an adult conversation. And he ended up falling asleep in the car, and he woke up and he was very quiet. He was just very quiet, was kind of like had his head low. So we got into the house. She took the dogs out for a walk, and he came into the bathroom and he just sat on my lap, and he just lost it. Just was bawling, crying, and he couldn't and I'm like, what's wrong? Is everything okay? And I'm like, do you feel bad that, and this is one of the dogs. This is Mortimer. Did you feel bad that you hit Nancy? And he said, yeah. And he was just sobbing uncontrollably. And I wasn't going to, I wasn't going to allow him to, you want to?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to allow him to not feel that. I wasn't going to say, suck it up, just apologize, it's not a big deal. I wanted him to feel the emotion of feeling upset that he accidentally hurt someone, and he had remorse. So, I calmed him down a little bit, and I said, it's okay. I said, Nancy doesn't hate you. She's not mad at you. I said, just you'll talk to her when she comes back in. And Nancy had no clue any of this was going on. So she walks in, and, she sees like tears in his eyes, and she walks into the bathroom, and he like literally just runs right over to her and just starts losing it on her, like sobbing into her shoulder. And he was sorry, but, and that's I'm an emotional person. I'm a crier. Nancy is getting better at being a crier, which I'm very proud of. Letting her feelings out. And I want him to be very emotionally mature and emotionally strong. And the second thing I wanted to talk about, I got a text from my dad yesterday morning. And he said, hey, taking Pop and Shirley out to dinner. Do you and Nancy, want to join us? And, obviously we had a conversation. She's been working on a lot of stuff for her business, and as am I. And I said, Dad, I'll let you know. And, my grandfather's going to be 91 in February. He's in amazing health. I mean, the guy's he's had stage 4 cancer. He's had a stroke. And I mean, he's great. He's just so mentally sharp. He looks good, still goes to the gym 3 to 4 days a week. And we went to dinner. We met them at this amazing hidden gem in Fox Chase area of Philadelphia called Moonstruck. And we had this amazing dinner last night. And my grandfather was sharing stories about, World War II and how he got into being a pharmacist. And, the craziest story is that, my grandmother, unfortunately lost her battle with cancer about 12 years ago. And Shirley was her name. And Shirley is my grandfather's girlfriend's name. And Shirley grew up with my grandmother. They went to grade school together. And the craziest thing was, my grandfather told us last night that Shirley, his current girlfriend, was actually supposed to be the maid of honor at my grandfather and grandmother's wedding. But Shirley had just had her first daughter at 19 and wasn't able to go. And this was in the
I think it was actually her second daughter.
Second daughter.
Yeah,
it was like the 1940s, 1950s. Yeah, it was the 1940s, because my father was born in 1952. This was 1949. And just hearing my grandfather at 90 years old sharing all of these stories from 70 and 80 years ago, you can't, I mean, that social and emotional self-care, spending time with those people. We were driving home from dinner last night, and we were just like, wow, that was such an amazing meal. And both of us, family is everything to us. I mean, literally, our friends too, but family is everything. My sister and my brother-in-law and my niece, my son, my parents, my grandparents, her family, her niece and nephew. It's number one. Mm-hmm. That is a form of self-care, spending time with those people that you love so much. Getting massages, taking care of you, reading. Even, Nancy wakes up every morning, she grabs her gratitude journal, and she writes some gratitude. That is a form of self-care.
Yeah. And I was going to say, just after my last, with the flu and the cold and everything, I actually picked up the gratitude journal Scott had bought for me. It was probably 8 months ago. And I hadn't even picked it up. And I'm like, you know what? Part of my self-care is going to be writing down my feelings and also writing down my gratitude. So not only do I record my gratitude, but if anything comes up or I'm having feelings, I write it down as well. So definitely reading and writing for self-care.
Yeah, just want to say hi to everyone that popped on: Dave, Tiffany, Joanne, Michael, Luna, Steve, Jacqueline. So, the one thing that we wrote down here is express your emotions and allow yourself to cry. And this goes for yourself, but with your loved ones. If something is pissing you off, if something is upsetting you, share it. Talk about it. Hi, Anne. We saw her at the restaurant yesterday. She's the one that's Nancy.
Yes.
Share your feelings. Share your emotions. Allow yourself to cry. And Nancy keeps telling me that I have something with men, and the fact that men, they're and I'm going to be doing some work on it, but there needs to be this movement for men to feel more okay with being more emotionally mature, in the sense of being a little bit softer, not having to beat their chest all the time, being able to cry and express their emotions, express their feelings, tapping into the feminine side, because we both have it. Every woman has a masculine side. Every man has a feminine side. And most men feel shameful for wanting to tap into that. I tap into it every day. I'm a very, very emotionally stable man. I'm strong as shit. And I am like, and I've become very confident as I've gotten older, but I'm very, very emotional. I'm very emotional. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Shit still bothers me. She talks me off of ledges every single week, but I can recalibrate. I allow the masculine and feminine to come through because that brings us closer together, because sometimes her feminine requires my feminine. And sometimes her masculine requires my feminine. If she's gonna let her masculine out, I have to allow my feminine energy to come through and just hear her and just listen to her. Wow, that got really, we went, whew.
It's true.
That's a whole other Facebook Live. Whole other Facebook Live. All right. So chore versus choice. We talked about physical self-care. We talked about emotional, social, and psychological self-care. And now we're going to talk about one that maybe some people don't realize or don't talk that much about. And this is about artistic, creative, and spiritual self-care. Artistic, creative, spiritual self-care. Recalibrating is going to be a part of your self-care. Absolutely, Pam, and you totally deserve it. So artistic, creative, spiritual self-care.
Yeah. So the first thing I think of with this, form of self-care is get outside, get out in nature. For me, it's a totally spiritual thing. It's a way to like connect to the present. But anytime I'm feeling, I'm just feeling like, like I just need a change, or I need to get outside, or I need to do something. Every time I go outside and go for like a nature walk, or just go walk around, and I kind of tune my brain into thinking of what is there, it helps me get rid of a lot of anxiety. They say actually a fun little life hack, if you're having an anxiety attack or if you're stressing out, they say look around wherever you are and start describing things. So for example, if you're really like stressed and you're thinking like, a month out and you're stressing about what could be, you actually look around and you could say, you know what, that tree is really tall and green. Those clouds are really, and you just start noticing the present and what's in front of you and all around. And it helps you just kind of ground yourself and get back into the present, because a lot of things, your anxiety, your frustration, being all over the place is because you're not able to be present. So, artistic, creative, spiritual, we're talking about, definitely get out into nature. We already talked about writing in the journal, I think is huge. The other one is, enjoy a hobby. So even if you're a crazy busy parent, even if you're crazy busy, at work all the time, it's so important that you still create something for yourself, for your own happiness. I used to overwhelm myself by sitting down and trying to do craft projects because I was doing it for someone else. Like I would sit down and I would get all my stuff, right? And I would get, I would get ready to scrapbook, and I would, go crazy, and I would have everything out. And what happened is I would get kind of like frustrated, or I would get overwhelmed because I'm like, oh, well, I need to create something that I could sell, or I wasn't doing it for myself. So be okay with doing a hobby or a thing, whether it's playing music or creating something or whatever, for yourself. That I think is incredibly important.
Yeah. So, Pam just said walking barefoot on the grass does wonders.
Heck
and
yeah.
I can actually feel like, I remember being at overnight camp and just like always walking around barefoot, like the feeling of like cold grass on your warm feet. Like there's nothing like it. Yeah. So as far as, enjoying a hobby or something new, there's a great movie that Nancy and I have watched a few different times called The Shift. And you can find it on YouTube. You just type in The Shift, and then you can put in Wayne Dyer, Dyer. And The Shift is a wonderful 2-hour movie. I recommend every couple or every single person to watch this movie. When I said let's watch it, you were like, wow, right?
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of takeaways, but there was one aspect of it. There's a character in the movie. It's this woman, and they're in this magical place, this little getaway with her husband and her 2 kids. And she's talking to one of the men that works at the getaway, and he was just talking about what her passions were. And she goes, well, they were painting and drawing, but I don't have time for that anymore because I have the kids and I'm a wife and my husband. And he goes, what do you mean you don't have time for it? He goes, you got to make time for it. So she came back that evening, and she rolled out of bed. Her husband was sleeping and kids were sleeping, and she locked herself in the bathroom, and she got out her old markers and pencils, and she had some paper, and she started just drawing for hours and hours and hours and hours. And the husband came in. He said, what are you doing? And she was almost shamed. She felt shameful that she was digging deeper into something that meant something to her that didn't have to do with taking care of her family. When in reality, women especially, when they become mothers, they start to lose a bit of their identity. They think that, my job now is to be a mom and to be a wife, and that's it. But you still have to tap into those things that you're passionate and that you love so much. So at the end of the movie, she actually says to her husband, listen, you go home. I'm going to stay back for another week, just me. You can take care of the boys. You know how that whole thing works. You know their schedule. She goes, I want to just draw for the next week. I want to just spend time by the ocean. I just want to draw everything. I want to tap back into my passion. She goes, I felt a spark. And she goes, I felt so energized for the first time in the longest time. I felt myself. And so many people end up becoming trapped inside of themselves because they're afraid to let the real self out. So for anyone that feels that way, or maybe you don't even know how to feel that way, or maybe it's been so long since you tapped into it, watch that movie, The Shift by Wayne Dyer. It really will change something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much to add to that. I mean, the whole movie, I think Scott had me watch it within the first few months of us dating, and it really was just like, whoa, it's such a common thing for people to lose themselves and lose their identities and forget what makes them truly happy. And it's really a good movie to watch if you want to focus on self-care.
So as we wrap up tonight, the most important thing that we want you to take away from this is that no matter if you're in a relationship or not, married or not, engaged or not, dating or not, whatever it is, you always have to come first. And what I want you guys, or what we want you guys to understand, is that it is not selfish for you to put yourself first. Because putting yourself first is also putting everybody else first with you. Because all too often, we give all of our time and our energy away, and our tank is left empty at the end of every single day. You fill your tank up first. Before you leave the house, you got to make sure that your car has gas so you can drive. And most people are driving cars that are on empty, and you end up dying 2 months down the road. Make sure you fill your tank first so you can get to anywhere you want to go and touch any life that you want to touch. And Pam says this is the perfect example of such a positive impact technology can have, connecting with you both. Fluke that I just happened to log on, thank you. Pam, it's not a fluke. This was supposed to happen, and we're so happy that you were able to join us. And Pam, you're absolutely right. We were actually talking about how there are good ways of using social media, and we love using it for this way to connect with all of you guys. And Gwen, great to see you on here. So guys, anything to close before we go?
I'm trying to think. I had one thing, but I totally just lost. Yeah,
Well, it might come back, but either way, we just really appreciate and love all of you because we do both have, like, if you looked at our desk right now, there's like stuff everywhere of what we're both working on, but it is so important to both of us to do these Sunday night talks with you guys, because every day we are very present and very aware of what things are going on in the world today. Positivity and change starts with all of us. And once we start letting that light and that love inside of us shine, we all make we all make the world a better place together. Did you write something down?
I just jotted a couple things down. And I mean, this is a touch on, and it goes back to like my roots of, for anyone jumping on who doesn't know my story, but I kind of hit a mental wall and I quit my corporate job and I decided to start my entrepreneurship journey. For so many of you out there who are burnout and are tired and you are so stressed out and work is so much, the answer isn't always to quit your job. Okay. I mean, for me, I kind of I hashed out a couple things and I changed jobs, but it's not always to quit your job. Sometimes you yourself just need some time. And if you feel yourself getting to that point, make sure you do spend the time to recharge your battery and to acknowledge your feelings. And it's a completely normal, healthy thing.
So take care of you. That's taking care of everybody else around you at the same time. Guys, happy Sunday. We hope you enjoyed the content. If there's anything you ever want us to talk about, life, relationship-wise, please leave it in the comment section. We would be happy to cover that content for you. So remember, love yourself so you can love everyone around you. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.